to the 7th episode of the Ranger Rundown. I'm Maren Alford.
And I'm Sydney Hendricks. We hope you had a fun and restful 2 weeks, Rangers, but we are so glad to be back. This year, many students are participating in UIL events, ranging from theater to film. Jesslyn and Tyler have more on this year's competition.
Currently, a few of our student organizations are leading up to perform in UIL or summer academic competitions. However, many problems have arisen, especially this school year. Let's take a closer look at film, theater, and act tech.
So for Film UIL, there are different categories that you can choose from. I am in the documentary category, so it's not necessarily a narrative, but it's just like a short film basically. And I did a documentary over kneeling for the national anthem in Frisco ISD. Throughout the process, it's really hard coordinating for interviews and getting B-roll and things like that. It takes a lot of time and effort to get everyone on the same page, but overall you just kind of have to work through it. This year it was pretty difficult getting everything together, especially with COVID. But I feel like this year I kind of had a plan on what I wanted to do, especially with what's been going on in the world. I think that my sophomore year with my junior year has given me a lot more experience, so I'm really excited to see what I can do for my senior year film.
There's the same complications that I think everybody's running into, the biggest one being the COVID regulations and the masks. A lot of acting has to do with your face, and obviously we're hiding about half the information that people normally get. There was a rule about staying socially distant, but they changed that so that we didn't actually have to be that far apart on stage, which is really, really, really helpful, especially for our show, as we have a lot of stage combat. These are students who have really worked hard in theater and tried to do their best with it. And because of that, then you get the top of the top. We are actually in a really, really good place right now. We are 3 weeks away from competition. We're just putting all the little nuts and bolts together that have to happen in order to do a show. We're hoping that COVID has kind of passed, or has at least really relaxed a lot, and everybody understands how the protocols work.
Well, ACTEC is a lot of fun. We get to learn all kinds of interesting things, and we just really become such a tight-knit group, and it's fun to practice speech. It's fun to be able to do that with other students who are also interested as well. We have had definitely some difficulties because of the fewer practices that we're able to hold for ACTEC, and we weren't able to hold any summer practices. We weren't able to hold any real practices at the beginning of the year. So students were really left to work on that themselves. We had our regional competition just a few weeks ago, and doing our testing in a virtual format caused so many crashes that they actually stopped our competition. We're like, stop taking the tests. It's not fair anymore, and they had to come up with a new way to kind of figure out who goes to state and how students will be awarded. So they decided to stop it, and we're actually all studying for state competition right now because we're all going to take the state tests, and then they're kind of going to determine winners just based upon that. So they have assured us that they fixed the platform issues and it won't be a problem having everybody testing at the same time on them now, but I really hope that they have.
Good luck, Kaylin, theater, and academic decathlon. With so many new sports seasons starting up, Sydney and Hayden checked in with boys and girls soccer, baseball, and softball to see how their seasons are going. Let's go check it out.
As soccer season progresses, our boys team is set in stone on achieving team goals as they play some of the toughest teams in the district.
This season, this is definitely a growing season for us. We had some ups and downs this season, but going into next season, we're definitely gonna be stronger because we're more of a unit at the end of this season, and as well as we're a younger squad, so we're gonna be older, more grown next season. So my goal for this season really is just to become a better leader as a whole and lead the team to be better on the field and be more positive. Our biggest highlight from this season was definitely our performance against Wakeland. I feel like that was a really defining moment in our season, and we really became a team then, and we really just gelled together going into the second half of our season.
Lone Star softball is in full swing, and the team couldn't be more excited. With the cancellation of last season, the softball team is looking forward to a successful run since no game is promised.
Well, we're really looking forward to a full season this year because last year we didn't get a completely full season because it was canceled because of COVID. So we're really ready to get back out there and play the game. Our main goals are just to communicate on and off the field, and our number one goal is to make it to playoffs this year and just finish in the top half of our district. Being a younger team is very good for us. We got a bunch of new talent, and I'm just looking forward to leading this team on and off the field, and I just can't wait to see what this season holds for us.
The girls' soccer team has taken the field this year with a winning mindset and positive culture, as they have had to overcome obstacles as the season continues.
Our season this year has actually been going pretty well, so this is one of the best records we've had since I've been a freshman, so it's really nice to see improvements being done to the program over time. And all the girls love playing for each other, so it just creates a family culture all around. Some of the things we've had to overcome this year, of course, have been COVID, because when teams get quarantined or your own players, that can really knock down your roster and all your numbers. Or we've had to double up on games during the week because we've had to make up those soccer games that we've lost. And also we've had to deal with injuries. Unfortunately, that's a part of the game, and we've had some players who have been injured on and off or have been actually injured all year, so we're really missing them on the field. But we've overcome them by learning how to play with our numbers and what we have. And sometimes we have to change our playing style, but really we just let the ball do the work and we take it game by game.
Baseball season is here, and the guys couldn't be more fired up. With the start of a new season, the team is looking forward to playing against some of the top-ranked teams in the area.
I'm really looking forward to just playing with my teammates since we missed all of last season, so we got to make up for what we lost. Some personal goals for this year is just to stay healthy, make sure everyone else stays healthy and not sick, and just contribute in any way possible. Some team goals first. Make playoffs, and after that, just to win districts. Some of the harder games will probably be Reedy, maybe Wakeland, and our final goal is always just to win state, make it to the tournament.
Make sure to support your fellow Rangers as their seasons progress. As we close out Black History Month, we the Ranger Rundown highlight the importance of African American history and the grant received from the Frisco Education Foundation.
Black History Month originally started back in 1915. It occurred during the second week of February to coincide with the birth dates of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. In the 1960s, due in part to the Civil Rights Movement, the celebration grew from a week to a month. Former President Barack Obama stated, "For too long, our most basic liberties have been denied to African Americans, and today we pay tribute to countless good-hearted citizens along the Underground Railroad, aboard a bus in Alabama, and all across our country." This year, our celebration of Black History Month is enhanced by special decorations made possible by a Frisco Educational Foundation grant awarded to Lone Star's own Miss Davis, who also plans to teach the new African American Studies class this fall. She saw no better use of the grant money than to promote not only Black History Month, but also the new elective course offered in Frisco ISD. Lone Star High School celebrates Black History Month not only to remember the important contributions and achievements of African Americans throughout our history, but also the lasting impact they've left on our nation. Don't forget to reach out to your counselor if you're interested in taking the African American Studies class next year. Next, Andrew and Jacob team up with Mr. Dykema to see just how well our Rangers know their American history. Let's see how they did.
Oh, hey there. Didn't see ya. Just being an American. And part of being an American is knowing your American history. Walk and talk with me. There's been a lot of things that have happened in American history. Wars, economic decline, so much. How well do you know about all that? That's what we're testing today. We got one of Lone Star's finest history teachers, Mr. Dykema, to tell us an American history story. We gathered multiple Lone Star students from the cafeteria here in Lone Star High School, and we showed them the video one time. And what was their job after that? Tell us the story that they just heard and see how well they knew their American history. So how well did they do after hearing the story one time? Well, we're about to find out.
Choosing this story because this is something that should be ripe on the minds of APUSH students at this moment. The story about the Spanish-American War. Now, the Spanish-American War was definitely something that was sold to us in a package. Napoleon Bonaparte once said that 4 newspapers are more powerful than 1,000 bayonets. Now, the media, the value and the strength of the media, what it ends up doing, it ends up creating this new age of journalism, and it's going to be called yellow journalism. Yellow journalism, based upon the actual print color on the paper, becomes a story about not telling the events. It becomes a story about exaggerating and making stories much more over the top to sell viewership. So you have 2 competing newspapers. The only way to get more newspapers is to have better stories. So in Cuba, which is we know it's a country off the coast of Florida, which is controlled by the Spanish, they are going through their own type of revolution. Now these 2 newspapers take people like Jose Marti and essentially start propping him up and telling them all the terrors of what's happening in Cuba. Now Pulitzer, who controls one of these newspapers, he gives a quote that, "Furnish me the pictures and I'll give you the war." And that's the power that they have. We end up sending a ship to go off the coast of Cuba. It's the USS Maine. Now in the harbor of Havana, it explodes. Now, one would actually say, oh yes, well, it exploded. Let's go try to figure out what happened. What were the events that caused it? No, here in America, the media exaggerates the whole story, and immediately they call upon that Spain was the one who destroyed the ship, and that if you love America, you must go to war. Now, it's kind of hard to go against it because where is the authority? The authority derives from these people who are telling us the story, but what is actually happening is they're making up a story to dictate foreign policy, and people are so quick to actually accept that as true. Now, this should be a very big lesson, is always try to understand the facts. Always try to understand what's going on, and don't just take everything at face value. Especially in today's time when you see everything on social media, you take it as truth, but that doesn't mean it's true. Because what happens is when you take something that you think is truth that comes from a position of authority, what ends up happening is we end up having thousands of people's lives and territory taken. War break.
My name is Jaden Guerra. I'll be your history teacher for today. So today we'll be learning about the Spanish-American War. Essentially, it was full of lots of deceit, cappery. Napoleon Dynamite once said that there was more power in yellow paper than there is a group of vigilantes. And I really think that speaks volume because originally what happened in the Spanish-American War is that there was an incident, kaboom, there was a big problem in the ocean. I think Mr. Dykema belly flopped and there was an explosion. And he definitely caused a really big rupture.
So there's Cubans, right? They're doing something with yellow paper. It's not true, it's not regulated, and not everything you hear is true. It's journalism. I think that's it.
There was a Spanish Revolution that was sold in a box, and there were 2 pieces of paper in Cuba, and somehow it relates to Spain and America. And America uses media to blame it on Spain. Yeah.
There was something about newspapers that are out or whatever, so they went to go get more on a ship. They found out the ship was destroyed, so they tried to find out who destroyed the ship, and they figured out it was Spain or something like that.
Okay, this is the story of the American-Spanish War. A guy named Napoleon had some quotes about yellow paper journalism. It was about 2 very exaggerated sides of a story. So hop back to another time period, and you have Cuba. The newspapers come out and say that a Spanish ship destroyed a Cuban ship, if that makes any sense. And although that wasn't true, I believe it was a US ship that destroyed the Cuban ship. This type of journalism caused both sides of the story to blow up, and no one really knew what was fact and what was fiction. It became really nationalized, radicalized, and that's how the war started up. And the moral of the story is don't take everything you read at face value. The media may not always say the truth.
Do your research. If you find a topic that's very interesting, but it doesn't seem right, do your research, get the facts right, and just don't believe every little single thing that you see on the media.
And about the Spanish-American War.
Dude.
Okay. Alright, thank you, Kevin.
It's about the Spanish-American War and how yellow journalism and how the USS Maine exploded and how yellow journalism caused the war between Spanish and Americans just because of the media exploding and taking things out of proportion.
Well, that's it for this episode, but don't forget to follow our Twitter and Instagram account at LSHS Broadcast to get a sneak peek on upcoming broadcasting games. Signing off from the Ranger Rundown, I'm Cindy Hendricks.
And I'm Maren Alford. Have a marvelous Monday, Rangers. Bye!